Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of my first ever book haul video extravaganza. Again, it's a small haul compared to a lot of people's book hauls, but it's exciting for me to be able to share some of these with you, some new arrivals to my collection. Now, in my last video, I talked about some Western novels I got recently in the mail that I had ordered through eBay and had shipped to me by my sister from Washington State, from the west coast of America, all the way here to Osaka, Japan, in a big box with a lot of other stuff, with other goodies. It was a very expensive proposition, but I couldn't resist getting a few books thrown in there. This time, I got mostly pulp adventure fiction and a few espionage and kind of crime novels, I guess, to throw in the mix. No science fiction here, guys, sorry, although there is some science fiction elements in some of the pulp adventure novels and story collections that I'll show you. Anyway, let's get started. The first batch of pulp adventure stuff I want to show you that I picked up in this recent book haul are the last 9 of the Shadow novels, beginning with number 15, Gray Fist. Now, you'll notice that earlier when I had reviewed in one of my monthly reading wrap-ups, number 8, The Shadow Mocks, this was one of the Pyramid book editions, and you can see the lovely little pyramid icon there. And I guess for whatever reason, Pyramid stopped publishing them, or they ceded the rights to Jove HBJ, and so Jove, I guess to distinguish that it was their publication now and their license now and not Pyramid, they changed the design a little bit. So instead of having this kind of maybe a little more subdued but still very cool and evocative, the Shadow logo, very well designed. Instead they do and still cool covers, but a little more gaudy, I would say, these ones. And the first couple of these have a nice blue text block. Okay, so this is Gray Fist, some Gray Fist attacking him, or some gray gloves, and then someone trying to sap the shadow on the back there. I'm not going to go through any plot synopses on these. Most of these are seem to be from earlier in the Shadow run, from back in the early 30s, 1933 or so. I believe this one was originally published in 1934. Some of these are 1933, even though they come later in the numbers. So they're still using the numbering that Pyramid did. I don't know the relationship between Pyramid and Jove HBJ, but it did bring in a change of look a little bit in the livery. Now, Michael K. Vaughan, the great booktuber Michael K. Vaughan, he's a big Shadow fan, as well as Doc Savage and in general Pulp fan. He did a fantastic video a while ago going through his entire collection of these 23 reproductions, paperback reprints of Shadow novels. Of course, a lot of the Shadow novels were done in kind of bigger format and by, what was it, Nostalgia Ventures, and I believe Sanctum Press put a lot out. Those are now out of print. Unfortunately, I would have liked to have gotten a hold of some of those. I didn't buy them when they were in print, more's the pity. I hadn't read a Shadow novel for a long time until I read this novel Mocks and enjoyed the hell out of it, so I decided to get some more. So, the next one, number 16, I have number 15 through number 23 in this book haul. So I have number 16, The Shadow's Shadow. Some very cool art on here. Now I know Jim Steranko did a bunch of art for these paperback covers, but some of these Jove editions might use the original pulp art. I can't find an artist credit in here. They don't credit any artist, so someone who's more knowledgeable than me might be able to tell. It does look like Steranko to me, but it could also be, it looks quite like the traditional pulp style, which Steranko mimicked very well. I believe this one for sure, the Mocks one is for sure Steranko. Very striking artist. And this has some of the telltale signs of that. Here's Fingers of Death, number 17. And again, a lot of these Jove editions have a beautiful buxom blonde or redhead or brunette being rescued by the Shadow, being menaced by some mysterious mastermind, evil mastermind the Shadow's going up against, like here, trying to garrote him, it looks like, while he's clutching this fainted woman and holding his 2 pistols ready to blast away. The Shadow, unlike Doc Savage, does not try to spare the evil bad guys to send to his crime college. No, the Shadow just takes them out. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, or they're taken out by their own. They're hoisted on their own petard in some fashion, and the Shadow, isn't exactly sad about it. Anyway, again, all of these Jove editions have some pretty cool, eye-popping colors, like this kind of turquoise and purple, color motif. Here we have Murder Trail, number 18. Again, these are all under the byline, the house name Maxwell Grant. Now, a writer named Walter Gibson wrote a bunch of these Shadow novels, a whole pile of them, but there were other ghost writers as well. I don't know who was writing which at this stage. I'm guessing this is from an earlier one, so probably Mr. Gibson was writing this one. This was from 1933 originally, so it's one of the earlier Shadow novels. Then we have Zemba, number 19. We got this, looks like a train coming in and somebody attacking the Shadow with a chain. I have no idea who or what this Zemba is, but anyway, again, some nice bright colors, really eye-popping colors, and most of these are all in really good condition, with minimum of wear and tear. There is a little bit, but they're in pretty good shape. Then we have number 20, Charg Monster. I'm assuming it's Charg and not Charge. Charg Monster, some kind of robot creature, attacking or terrorizing this buxom blonde in her scanty negligee, and the Shadow is there ready to rescue her and do some damage on the creature. That's pretty impressive cover art. The Wealth Seeker, number 21. Now, this is not one of the better titles for the Shadow novels, The Wealth Seeker. I mean, that would probably describe most people that you meet on a day-to-day basis. But anyway, maybe they were running out of pithy, juicy titles at this stage. But here we have maybe the titular Wealth Seeker, some guy in a top hat and tails with a mask and a Tommy gun menacing, in this case, a brunette, buxom brunette, and Shadow is there with his pistols ready to do battle and rescue the damsel in distress, I guess. I haven't read any of these, so I don't really know if she is a damsel in distress, and if there is even a woman in distress in these books. Mox didn't have a single female character in it, I don't think, other than maybe a secretary. It was all male, victims and male killers and other assorted characters. So, but there are often, of course, women involved in the case for the Shadow. And here's number 22. We're coming up on the end of the paperback reprints done by Jove, started by Pyramid, done by Jove. There were some others, other publishing houses who published some different line of maybe 6 or 7, including some of the very earliest Shadows. This one is The Silent Death. And there we got another blonde, again, scantily dressed. They can't be fully clothed, I guess, in this kind of big glass tube, being menaced by an evil mastermind there. And he has to be bald, and of course looks like a bad guy, and the Shadow is there again, right on the spot to hopefully rescue her in time before she's transformed into something, I don't know. That one should prove interesting. And the very last one, The Death Giver, number 23. How's that for a cool cover? Again, we got a redhead this time in scanty negligee being menaced by a guy in a gas mask with an acetylene torch. And the Shadow is there to take him down and prevent him from doing some terrible damage to this lovely lady, at least on the cover. Again, how much this cover has anything to do with the book, I'm not sure. Okay. Anyway, those are the 9 Shadow books, the last 9 paperback reprints that came out in these Jove HBJ editions. To complete that series, like I said, I only have a couple of the earlier Pyramid ones in this run. There's a lot I haven't got yet that I need to get my hands on. So continue the search. Part of the fun is always the search for more of those. And let's move on. Now we're going to come back to the Pulp realm at the end, but I want to save that because that's kind of a special one. I'm going to get into, we're going to kind of slide over to a slightly different genre, the espionage and crime drama genres. Ooh boy, it's a hot one, guys. Bear with me as I sweat away on camera here. Okay, in my Spy-Fi and Espionage video, which I'll link to below, I talked about a series, several different series, but I talked about a series of British espionage novels by William Haggard, featuring Colonel Charles Russell. And the Colonel Russell adventures they're quite cool, kind of a cross between James Bond's with a kind of leaning more to a George Smiley, John le Carré sort of vibe. They're kind of very topical for the kind of political issues of the day. And of course, Colonel Russell later in the series. And the series ran for quite a while. It ran from, I think the first one, Slow Burner, was published in 1958, and the last one was in 1990, the 25th one. There were 25 Colonel Russell books. So I ordered 2 different sets of these. One of these was, that's not in a bag, this one, Visa to Limbo, I ordered separately. But these other 3 all came in a bag. Beautiful, pristine editions. They're all the Walker mystery editions. And these 3 came with some John Creasey books as well. So it was a set of 6. For some reason, it was 3 William Haggards and 3 John Creaseys. I'll get to the John Creaseys in a moment. Going in order of these, for when they came out in the series of 25 books, I'll start with number 11, which is A Cool Day for a Killing. Again, whoever sold this lot, I will definitely try to buy from them again, because these are fantastically pristine conditions. They obviously deemed them bag worthy. I'll take this one out of the bag just to kind of show you how, if I can get it open without destroying the bag. It's taped up a little too well for my liking. Let's see, I don't think it'll... There we go. Look at that. I mean, it's like it's not even been touched. It's brand spanking new. Almost. I mean, it's got a little fading from time, I guess. But look at that. It's just pristine. This is A Cool Day for a Killing. And this one was published in 1968. And again, it's got that red spine and color on the back around the blurb to show that it's a Walker mystery, right? A Walker British mystery. Now, technically, it's not really a mystery. These are very interesting and sly, very sardonically witty, with some exciting action here and there. Although by this stage, probably in his career, Charles Russell's getting a little older, might even be semi-retired and being sent as seemingly a vacationing pensioner who actually tries to get involved in some various hot spots around the world, seemingly like he's on vacation, but really he's working the angles behind the scenes. This bag, just opening it, kind of did some damage to it. I shouldn't have opened it, I guess, but I'm going to have to eventually when I read them. Anyway, that's A Cool Day for a Killing. I'm not going to open the other ones because of that, but they are similarly pristine, I think. So after that one, we go to Too Many Enemies, another Colonel Charles Russell spy novel from Walker British Mysteries. As Chicago Daily News, the most intelligent suspense novels in the English language are being written by William Haggard, right? South African diamonds sparkle amidst Arab and Israeli lobbying in parliament. Doesn't sound very exciting, but from the ones I've read before of this series, it should be a really good time. The other one seems to be set in some Middle Eastern country as well. Of course, there's a lot of Middle Eastern conflict going on at this time. Then that was Too Many Enemies. That was number 13 in the series, published in 1971. The next one, number 14, was published in 1973. Notch on the Knife, The Notch on the Knife. Okay. And this one appears to be in some Balkan country. Again, they're probably some made up country, but, you know, you know, very typical for the era sort of problems. Then I have this one I got from a different source. It wasn't bagged, but it's in good condition still, quite good condition. This is Visa to Limbo. Pretty cool cover. You got some guys parachuting in over these oil wells, and you got this stern-looking Arab guy on a horse, and then an airplane, and over a cityscape. So a visit from Colonel Charles Russell sparks a conflagration in the Middle East. Danger follows Charles Russell in spite of his protest that he is no longer an agent of British security. So good stuff. I'm looking forward to reading those, because the ones the couple that I have in my collection already that I've read before, especially from later on in the series, are really cool, right? And that Visa to Limbo was number 18, so it's getting towards the end of the series there. And like the back said, Charles Russell is supposedly retired, but is he really? No, not really. Okay, and in that batch of bagged goodies came 3 more that were bagged, and these were Baron novels by John Creasey, starting with The Baron and the Unfinished Portrait. And again, also incredibly pristine Walker British Mystery editions. The Help from the Baron, and The Baron in France. Okay, now let me talk a little bit about John Creasey and a little bit about The Baron. Now, John Creasey was an extremely prolific British crime writer. He wrote a little bit of crime fiction, was tinged with science fiction in the Dr. Palfrey Department Z books. He wrote several series. He wrote the Baron series, the Toff series. Baron and the Toff were both a little bit influenced probably by the Saint, although the Baron and the Toff were both being written in the early 30s, so pretty close to contemporary with the Saint by Leslie Charteris. And the Baron, and there was also Gideon of Scotland Yard, which was made into a film by John Ford, starring Jack Hawkins as Gideon, Commander Gideon. And then there was a wonderful ITC black and white TV series from the early 60s called just called Gideon's Way, which is the name of one of the novels. And those are more standard police procedurals with the kitchen sink drama elements added in. It's a terrific one-season series starring John Gregson as Gideon. And there was also a series called The Baron with Steve Force, an American, playing the Baron. In the books, he's British. And that was also produced by the wonderful ITC company in England in the 60s and ran for one season. And it was a contemporary kind of The Saint. It was one of the earlier color productions by ITC. Anyway, it doesn't bear a huge amount of resemblance other than in one respect to the books. In the books, the Baron is a former jewel thief turned, his nickname was the Baron, and he's turned into an antique dealer. And he gets involved in various cases, similar to the Saint, I guess, where he's kind of a gentleman adventurer. And his name is John Mannering. Now, John Creasey only lived about 64 years of life, but he published over 600 novels in that time. He was a very busy man, and he wrote over 28 pseudonyms, I think. The Baron books were originally published as by Anthony Morton. And, I guess Creasey was just publishing so many books that he didn't want to use his own name for, to inhibit sales. So he, like a lot of writers, used several different pseudonyms. Anyway, I'm looking forward to these Baron books. I think I've read a couple in the past. It's been a long time since I've read them. And I wasn't, searching out for them, but because they came in this pack with these, these William Haggard, Colonel Russell books, I thought, why the hell not? $30, get these books in pristine condition. Works for me. Now, this last book in my book haul did not come from eBay. It's not an old book, although the content is old. And this is this wonderful 700 plus page, or just shy of 700. I guess with acknowledgments, it's at 702 pages volume. The Complete Ivy Frost by Donald Wandrei. Now, I'm going to show you more of this edition in a moment. It's absolutely gorgeous. It wasn't cheap, it was $55, but I bought directly from the publisher. And publisher Stephen Haffner of Haffner Press is kind of a one-man band, although he has lots of help from different quarters for art and sourcing of material and such. Stephen Haffner Press is just fantastic. It put out these wonderful, wonderful John the Balladeer volumes, complete John the Balladeer, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Manly Wade Wellman. I'm going to go over these in a future video for sure. I've been meaning to get to my Manly Wade Wellman shelf over here. They are coming, okay? And anyway, how I got interested in this Ivy Frost, because I've never heard of this Ivy Frost character. He was a pulp character created for the Clues Detective magazine. The Clues Detective Stories Pulp magazine, and you can see in the end papers here, they have all of the various covers that featured these 18 stories written by Donald Wandrei. Now, Donald Wandrei, or Wandrei, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name. His brother was Howard Wandrei, and they were both writers, I believe. And Donald Wandrei was one of the Lovecraft Circle for Weird Tales. He wrote for Weird Tales. He went on to co-found Arkham House Publications with August Derleth and produce all those lovely volumes of Arkham House stories. And he's not so well known, but they, Haffner Press put out the complete series that he wrote for this Clues Detective Stories magazine, Ivy Frost. Now, the detective's name is I.V. Frost, but Ivy for short. On the books page on the Haffner Press website, and also in the introduction, he's described as somewhat of a cross between Sherlock Holmes, with the kind of deductive acumen of a Sherlock Holmes, deductive reasoning. Actually, probably inductive reasoning is more proper, but anyway. And the kind of two-fisted scientific gadget-wielding Doc Savage type. So he's kind of a cross between Sherlock Holmes and Doc Savage. Sherlock Holmes already having a big effect on the creation and character of Doc Savage. But Ivy Frost doesn't have a gang of male aides helping him, but he does have who's described as an extremely glamorous and attractive young woman named Jean Moray, depicted here on this artwork by, the cover art's by Raymond Swanland, and there's cool interior black and white illustrations by Chris Kalb for each story, right? And these are really cool stories. Why I got into this, I hadn't even heard of this. I've heard of Donald Wandrei before, but I never heard of this Ivy Frost series. But having bought these great John the Balladeer books from editions from Haffner Press, and looking at some of the other stuff they offered, they put out and continue to put out works by Donald Hamilton and Henry Kuttner, and they got a whole bunch of cool stuff, pulp detective and science fiction stuff in these beautiful editions. And I was curious about this Ivy Frost. Who's this Ivy Frost dude? That's a strange name for a pulp character. And then I started looking on the website, and Stephen Haffner was very smart. He put about half or three-quarters, maybe probably about a half to a third, two-thirds of the very first story in the book, the very first Ivy Frost story, titled simply Frost, right? Which was published in 1934, September 1934, in, again, Clues Detective Stories magazine. And it introduces Jean Moray and how she comes in to be in the employ of Ivy Frost and how they tackle their first case. And it's just fantastic. And I got hooked on it. But, of course, Haffner was smart and he didn't put the whole story there. And for me to be able to finish the story, I was intrigued enough. I wanted to buy this book. It came out in 2020. So it's, it's still in print through Haffner Press. It was a limited run, I believe, of 2,500 or 1,500 copies. And let me just show you. Again, I'm going to take off the dust jacket, which is beautiful, but with a nice picture of Donald Wandrei on the back there. Stephen Haffner was nice enough to, ordering through him. You could also order through Amazon, but he sent, I took it out of its wrapping, but he sent another, looks like backup copy of that dust jacket here, just as a little bonus. Did the same thing with the John the Balladeer set, as well as a nice little chapbook of a previously unpublished story by Wellman. So you know, when you order from the publishers directly, you sometimes get some really cool things. Now look at this sweet edition here. You got a signature, I guess a reproduction of Donald Wandrei's signature, nice gilt edge lettering. But the real beauty here is these wonderful pulp cover reproductions in the inside front flap and end paper there. And that's the first 8, I guess, and here's another 8. So it doesn't maybe cover every single of the 18 stories of Ivy Frost there, but it covers a lot of them. And you get all these cool pulp reprints there. You get some information, some other works that they're putting out from Donald Wandrei, Haffner Press, and some other things he did. And of course, a nice photo of Donald Wandrei and his brother Howard, dated 1933. Okay. All right. And then, of course, the Haffner Press imprint here on the bottom, if you can see. Right. Haffner Press, Royal Oak, Michigan, 2020. And introduction by D.H. Olson, who has kind of instigated this collection and is a kind of an expert on Donald Wandrei and the Ivy Frost stories. Interior art by Chris Kalb, as I mentioned, some publishers' acknowledgments, a content list of the 18 stories. So 18 stories in almost 700 pages, so you can tell they're pretty lengthy stories, right? And the introduction here by Mr. D.H. Olson. And these great little kind of charcoaly, black and white looking evocative pictures before each story. And they're in front of every story, right? Green man creeping. They could not kill him. And again, they all look to be, that one starts on page 80, and then the next one starts on page 119. So they're all like in the 40, 50 plus page range. Bride of the Rats. Gotta love these pulp titles. Guaranteed to get you ready to read a story. The Artist of Death. Death Descending. Right? I won't go through all of these, but they're pretty damn cool, I have to say. Impossible. And on like that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the character of Jean Marais. Now, she starts off, again, she's so good looking that she just turns heads and stops traffic wherever she goes. Whereas Ivy Frost is, a somewhat strange looking man, but eventually there's an unrequited love, I think, that develops there as Jean Marais first doesn't know what the heck to make of this guy, but she's excited by his, the ad for a job that implied some danger and excitement. She answers an advertisement when she meets him. So when she first comes to meet him, this is what the advertisement that Ivy Frost puts in the paper. Help wanted female, assistant for criminal investigation, young woman of exceptional appearance, personality, courage, health, intelligence, without close ties for dangerous but exciting work with private criminologist. Reply in detail. High salary to right person, box Z 149. Okay. And so she comes in and has an interview with him. And before you know it, they're off and running, working on their first case. And Ivy Frost is not just a brainiac. He is a man of action, dealing with mobsters and all sorts of megalomaniacal villains. Just looks like a terrific set of stories. Apparently the quality is maintained pretty well all through from various sources that have reviewed this book and these stories. And I am excited to get into these in this lovely edition. So anyone who hasn't ordered anything from Haffner Press, I highly recommend seeking them out. Their website is Haffner, Haffner. And, they put it out. They're putting out all these Captain Future stories by Edmund Hamilton in lovely editions, 3 novels per book, and tons of other cool stuff. Mystery stories, pulp detective stories, science fiction stories, I think some horror stories as well. Good stuff. Recommend them. that does it for my book haul video part 2, and I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope I can do another one of these sometime in the future. It's probably going to be quite a while before the next one, as I am over here in Japan, not likely to get into an American bookstore for a while, or to get back to my own storage collection back in the States either, until my next trip home. But in the meantime, I still have lots of stuff I haven't shown you yet here in my cave of cool books. So until then, until the next video, until Rocket Summer, or until PI July, or whatever it is that I get up to next, I will see you next time. Happy reading and take care.